Hi, everyone, and welcome to God's Plan, Your Part, a podcast where our goal is to read the entire Bible in a year, seeking to understand God's plan of redemption while discovering daily and practically your part in it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to God's Plan, Your Part. Today is the last day in Joshua. Tomorrow we'll be in Judges, but before we get there, we have to look at Joshua 22 to 24. I almost got ahead of myself there. In 22, we have the tribes that had originally asked to be on the other side of the river. They go back to the river, so it's kind of a callback. Moses had basically was like calling them wimps. Like, you only saying you want this land because you don't want to go fight. And they're like, no, we just like the land. So they get to go back, but they build this giant altar, and it is a serious issue.
Yes. Basically, I think it's dumb because they build this, like, what was the mentality? Like, oh, we're going to build this and nobody's going to notice? Like, I instantly heard this and I thought I would definitely be the person that would be like, yeah, no, you're going to be in trouble because that's wrong. You're not allowed to do that.
Apparently, the Hebrew that's used is actually like the idea that it was enormous. Like, it's the same language used for the burning bush. So it's like this incredibly out of the ordinary, majestic sight. So it's really something. And they literally raise an army and like charge in there, like ready to kill them all.
What did they make? They made an altar?
Yeah, they made an altar. Apparently, it looked like they were going to offer sacrifices to God. So they made like a replica, I guess. Because that is what it says.
That's like so not allowed. Because here's the other thing.
Well, they're not offering sacrifices on it. It is allowed.
That just seems.
But it makes sense that people were confused because they were like, "Listen, the last time this happened, all of us got in trouble." So it's like the one bad kid is like, "No, you're not going to be bad." Gets the whole family in trouble. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what's happening. So there's almost a war. It seems like they have like one meeting where they're like,
amongst
"No, we
each
didn't mean
other?"
that." Yeah. They were afraid that in the future, the tribes on the one side of the Jordan would not trust the tribes on the other side of the Jordan, so they raised up this memorial so that it would be like a witness between them.
Be all swayed.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's so weird. I don't get that.
And they stay out of war because there's a misunderstanding.
Usually the opposite is true.
So then, kind of the final really interesting thing is in Joshua is that there is this covenant renewal. This is where you get like. Probably this declaration that you've heard many times, or at least, will ring a bell. Like, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. This is all part of Joshua saying, listen, people, serve God.
It's kind of weird, too, because Joshua, he feels so short-lived. Like, in
Well, we've been hearing about Moses for so long.
Yeah.
And Joshua does feel like a little bit of a blip on the screen.
But he does get a pretty epic line, though, so there's that.
He gets be strong and courageous.
Uh-huh.
And he gets, as for me and my house.
We will serve the Lord, yeah.
There is this weird thing where he says, basically he's talking about how God will get you if you don't obey him. But he actually tells them to get rid of their idols. Where is that?
I think right here in 23. Put away the foreign gods that are among you and incline your heart to the Lord.
Was that verse 23?
24, 23.
Yeah, put away the foreign gods that are among you. So apparently they still had foreign gods with them. And Joshua's like, hey, man, you better get this stuff straight. This is not good for you. So the Israelites, they're still drawn to terrible things, apparently.
So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day. So what would you call that covenant?
He's just like renewing the Mosaic covenant.
Okay,
is really
so
what
it's nothing new.
He is making a covenant. That's why you get like these shouts of allegiance and then this confirmation. It's a covenant is being cast, but it's really just reminding them of the Mosaic covenant. And then you also get, where is...
the bones?
Yeah, the bones of Joseph. This is verse 32. As for the bones of Joseph, with the people of Israel brought out of Egypt, they buried them at Shechem in the piece of land that Jacob bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem. You really get this idea of finality. Like God did exactly what God said he was going to do, down to Joseph's bones coming. Well, these are like 600-700-year-old bones at this point. Like they're old bones, and maybe it's like mummy Joseph, I guess, which is very likely.
Gross.
But Joseph is buried in Canaan, just like Joseph requested in Genesis. I think it's Genesis 50. Chapter 50. Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing. Considering these are different authors.
Have they ever found them?
I don't believe so. It would be pretty hard to know that it was him. It's not like he's going to have a sign on that says like, "Hi, I'm Joseph."
How can they decide that? Well, I guess
Maybe
Pharaoh
he's
does.
wearing the coat of many colors. Maybe that's all they'll know.
Maybe he's wearing his special ring.
Whoa, wild. I don't think they found him.
Wouldn't that be so cool, though?
It would be very
I feel
cool.
like that'd make a really cool documentary.
Oh my goodness. New on Netflix.
Yeah.
So we have now read over like the entirety of Joshua. I appreciate like this covenant reminder at the end. It's kind of like, man, like look at what God did. It is amazing. Joshua actually walks through the history in front of the people. Like God called out Abraham, and here we are today. So as we read over these final chapters of Joshua, what do you think is a good your part for today?
Well, I guess I would just go back to 24, let's see, 24:15, where it's basically like, it feels like Joshua's kind of putting the line in the sand. Like, you either are going to serve the Lord or you're going to be against him. And I think that's pretty true of like what what we talk about for our own family. Like, we are going to serve the Lord, and anything outside of that is against him. And so, I don't know, just like for our family, what that has looked like is like remembering to like put the time into reading God's word, putting the time into praying and serving him, and just pushing past our own personal, I don't know, what would you say, like our own desires, our own shortcomings, like putting those aside and realizing that, hey, we're raising up a family to serve the Lord and like do his will in our lives.
I think when you start to do those kinds of things, like, I mean, you're talking about our family, like I think we have been more and more aware of the power of distinctives. Like we are really not supposed to be like everybody else. And I've heard that taught in like kind of hurtful ways. Like we're not Amish people. I mean, maybe in a couple of years we will be Amish people. I don't know. We're not going to remove ourselves from culture, but we're not just going to like freely consume everything and believe everything and follow everything either. And there are times where it's like, oh, we seem kind of weird. But it's distinctives in following the Lord and serving the Lord that make you different. And that is the point for the Israelites. They were supposed to represent God in a fallen world. They were a nation of priests. And so that's part of their mission, and that's what Joshua is telling them to do. Joshua gives them two categories of gods to follow, which is kind of funny. He's like, choose to serve the Lord or serve the gods from the ancient gods of Abraham and Mesopotamia, or serve the gods of Egypt. Like, it's just like, what brand of nonsense do you want to pick?
Laundry, yeah.
And so they emphatically choose to serve the Lord. That lasts for a bit, but not very long.
What's that verse about? I think I heard it today. Like the verse about he will give you the desires of your heart.
It's Psalm 37, delight in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart.
Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
You were listening, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that whole delight in the Lord. So even like dedicating like our home, we will serve the Lord. Your desires become more like what his will is. Yeah.
A lot, what we were listening to was that a lot of times people focus on the desires of your heart, like do this to get this. And the emphasis is usually on the desires of your heart, not delighting yourself in the Lord. So it is, Joshua's saying, like, we're going to find delight in the Lord. And a lot of times what happens when you choose to do that is the desires of your heart change. So that's the takeaway. Like, choose this day to serve the Lord. Give up the nonsense. Give up the ridiculous things around you. Serve the Lord. Focus in on his voice and his word.
So that your desires end up lining up with his.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good takeaway. So we'll be in Judges tomorrow. Pretty soon in Judges, we're going to hear very often, everyone did what was right in their own eyes.
Yikes.
It's going to be
like
wild.
Today.
Buckle up. So we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Hey, thanks so much for listening to our take on God's Word. Stick around and listen to the Word on the second part of the podcast. Before we get in there, we just want to remind you, you can connect with us at any time on social media and YouTube at God's Plan, Your Part. Also, we are a listener-supported podcast, so if you ever want to help us out with the ministry that we're doing, you can do that by clicking the link in our description. And now, here's the reading for today. Joshua chapter 22. At that time Joshua summoned the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half-tribe of Manasseh, and said to them, You have kept all that Moses the servant of the Lord commanded you, and you have obeyed my voice in all that I have commanded you. You have not forsaken your brothers these many days, down to this day, but you have been careful to keep the charge of the Lord your God. And now the Lord your God has given rest to your brothers as he promised them. Therefore turn and go to your tents in the land where your possession lies, which Moses the servant of the Lord gave you on the other side of the Jordan. Only be careful to observe the commandment and the law of Moses the servant of the Lord commanded you, to love the Lord your God, and to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, and cling to him and serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. So Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went to their tents. Now to the one half of the tribe of Manasseh Moses had given a possession in Bashan, but to the other half Joshua had given a possession beside their brothers in the land west of the Jordan. And when Joshua sent them away to their homes and blessed them, he said to them, Go back to your tents with much wealth and with very much livestock, with silver, gold, bronze, and iron, and with much clothing. Divide the spoil of your enemies with your brothers. So the people of Reuben and the people of Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh returned home, parting from the people of Israel at Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan, to go to the land of Gilead, their own land, of which they had possession themselves by the command of the Lord through Moses. And when they came to the region of the Jordan, that is the land of Canaan, the people of Reuben and the people of Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh built there an altar by the Jordan, an altar of imposing size. And the people of Israel heard it, said, Behold, the people of Reuben and the people of Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh have built the altar at the frontier of the land in Canaan, in the region about the Jordan, on the side that belongs to the people of Israel. And when the people of Israel heard it, the whole assembly of the people of Israel gathered at Shiloh to make war against them. Then the people of Israel sent to the people of Reuben and the people of Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh in the land of Gilead Phinehas the son of Eleazar the high priest, and with him 10 chiefs, one from each of the tribal families of Israel, every one of them the head of a family among the clans of Israel. And they came to the people of Reuben, the people of Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh in the land of Gilead, and they said to them, Thus says the whole congregation of the Lord, What is this breach of faith that you have committed against the God of Israel in turning away this day from following the Lord by building yourselves an altar this day in rebellion against the Lord? Have we not had enough of the sin at Peor, from which even yet we have not cleansed ourselves, and for which there came a plague upon the congregation of the Lord, that you too must turn away this day from following the Lord? And if you too rebel against the Lord today, then tomorrow he will be angry with the whole congregation of Israel. But now, if the land of your possession is unclean, pass over into the Lord's land, where the Lord's tabernacle stands, and take for yourselves a possession among us. Only do not rebel against the Lord and make us rebels by building for yourselves an altar, other than the altar of the Lord your God. Did not Achan the son of Zerah break faith in the matter of the devoted things, and wrath fell upon all the congregation of Israel, and he did not perish alone for his iniquity? Then the people of Reuben, the people of Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh said in answer to the heads of the families of Israel, The mighty one, God the Lord, the mighty one, God the Lord, he knows, and let Israel itself know. If it was in rebellion or in breach of faith against the Lord, do not spare us today, for building an altar to turn away from following the Lord. Or if we did so, to offer burnt offerings or grain offerings or peace offerings on it, may the Lord himself take vengeance. No, but we did it from fear that in time to come your children might say to our children, What have you to do with the Lord, the God of Israel? For the Lord has made the Jordan a boundary between us and you people of Reuben, and you people of Gad. You have no portion in the Lord. So your children might make our children cease to worship the Lord. Therefore we said, Let us now build an altar, not for burnt offering, nor for sacrifice, but to be a witness between us and you, and between our generations after us, that we do perform the service of the Lord in the presence with our burnt offerings and sacrifices and peace offerings. So your children will not say to our children in the time to come, You have no portion in the Lord. And we thought, if this should be said to us or to our descendants in the time to come, we should say, Behold, the copy of the altar of the Lord, which our fathers made, not for burnt offerings, nor for sacrifice, but to be a witness between us and you. Far be it from us that we should rebel against the Lord, and turn away this day from following the Lord, by building an altar for burnt offering, grain offering, or sacrifice, other than the altar of the Lord our God that stands before his tabernacle. When Phinehas the high priest and the chiefs of the congregation, the heads of the families of Israel who were with him, heard the words that the people of Reuben and the people of Gad and the people of Manasseh spoke, it was good in their eyes. And Phinehas the son of Eleazar the priest said to the people of Reuben and the people of Gad and the people of Manasseh, Today we know that the Lord is in our midst, because you have not committed this breach of faith against the Lord. Now you have delivered the people of Israel from the hand of the Lord. Then Phinehas the son of Eleazar the priest and the chiefs returned from the people of Reuben and from the people of Gad in the land of Gilead to the land of Canaan, to the people of Israel, and brought back word to them. And the report was good in the eyes of the people of Israel. And the people of Israel blessed God and spoke no more of making war against them to destroy the land where the people of Reuben and the people of Gad were settled. The people of Reuben and the people of Gad called the altar witness, for they said, It is a witness between us that the Lord is God.
A long time afterward, when the Lord had given rest to Israel from all their surrounding enemies, and Joshua was old and well advanced in years, Joshua summoned all Israel, its elders and heads, its judges and officers, and said to them, I am now old and well advanced in years. You have seen all that the Lord your God has done to all these nations for your sake, for it is the Lord your God who has fought for you. Behold, I have allotted to you as an inheritance for your tribes those nations that remain, along with all the nations that I have already cut off, from the Jordan to the great sea to the west. The Lord your God will push them back before you and drive them out of your sight, and you shall possess their land, just as the Lord your God promised you. Therefore be very strong to keep and do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, turning aside from it neither to the right hand nor to the left, that you may not mix with these nations remaining among you, or make mention of the names of their gods, or swear by them, or serve them, or bow down to them. But you shall cling to the Lord your God, just as you have done to this day. For the Lord has driven out before you great and strong nations. And as for you, no man has been able to stand before you to this day. One man of you puts to flight 1,000, since it is the Lord your God who fights for you, just as he promised you. Be very careful, therefore, to love the Lord your God. For if you turn back and cling to the remnant of these nations remaining among you, and make marriages with them, so that you associate with them and they with you, know for certain that the Lord your God will no longer drive out these nations before you, but they shall be a snare and a trap for you, a whip on your sides and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from this good ground that the Lord your God has given to you. And now I am about to go the way of all the earth, and you know in your hearts and souls, all of you, all have come to pass for you, not one of them has failed. But just as all the good things that the Lord your God promised concerning you have been fulfilled for you, so the Lord will bring upon you all the evil things, until he has destroyed you from off this good land that the Lord your God has given you. If you transgress the covenant of the Lord your God, which he commanded you, and go and serve other gods and bow down to them, then the anger of the Lord will be kindled against you, and you shall perish quickly from off the good land that he has given you.
Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem and summoned the elders, the heads, the judges, and all the officers of Israel, and they presented themselves before God. And Joshua said to all the people, Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, Long ago your fathers lived beyond the Euphrates, Terah the father of Abraham, and of Nahor, and they served other gods. Then I took your father Abraham from beyond the river and led him through the land of Canaan, and made his offspring many. I gave him Isaac, and to Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. And I gave Esau the hill country of Seir to possess, but Jacob and his children went down to Egypt. And I sent Moses and Aaron, and I plagued Egypt with what I did in the midst of it, and afterwards I brought you out. Then I brought your fathers out of Egypt, and you came to the sea, and the Egyptians pursued your fathers with chariots and horsemen to the Red Sea. And when they cried to the Lord, he put darkness between you and the Egyptians and made the sea come upon them and cover them. And your eyes saw what I did in Egypt. And you lived in the wilderness a long time. Then I brought you to the land of the Amorites, who lived on the other side of the Jordan. They fought with you, and I gave them into your hand. And you took possession of their land, and I destroyed them before you. Then Balak the son of Zippor, the king of Moab, arose and fought against Israel. And he sent and invited Balaam the son of Beor to curse you. But I would not listen to Balaam. Indeed, he blessed you. So I delivered you out of his hand, and you went over the Jordan and came to Jericho. And the leaders of Jericho fought against you, and also the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And I gave them into your hand. And I sent the hornet before you, which drove them out before you. The 2 kings of the Amorites, it was not by your sword or by your bow. I gave you a land on which you had not labored, and cities that you had not built, and you dwell in them. You eat the fruit of the vineyards and olive orchards that you did not plant. Now, therefore, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and faithfulness. Put away the gods that your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your fathers served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose lands you now dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Then the people answered, Far be it from us that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods. For it is the Lord our God who brought us and our fathers up out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, and did those great signs in our sight, and preserved us all in the way that we went, and among all the peoples through whom we passed. And the Lord drove out before us all the peoples, the Amorites who lived in the land. Therefore we also will serve the Lord, for he is our God. But Joshua said to the people, You are not able to serve the Lord, for he is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions or your sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods, then he will turn and do harm and consume you, after having done you good. And the people said to Joshua, No, but we will serve the Lord. Then Joshua said to the people, You are witnesses against yourselves, that you have chosen the Lord to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. He said, Then put away the foreign gods that are among you, and incline your heart to the Lord, the God of Israel. And the people said to Joshua, The Lord our God we will serve, and his voice we will obey. So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day, and put in place statutes and rules for them at Shechem. And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God, and he took a large stone and set it up there under the terebinth that was there for the sanctuary of the Lord. And Joshua said to all the people, Behold, this stone shall be a witness against us, for it has heard all the words of the Lord that he spoke to us. Therefore it shall be a witness against you, lest you deal falsely with your God. So Joshua sent the people away, every man to his inheritance. After these things, Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in his own inheritance at Timnath-Serah, which is in the hill country of Ephraim, north of the mountain of Gosh. Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, and had known all the work the Lord did for Israel. As for the bones of Joseph, which the people of Israel brought up from Egypt, they buried them at Shechem, in the piece of land that Jacob bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of money. It became an inheritance of the descendants of Joseph. And Eleazar the son of Aaron died, and they buried him at Gibeah, the town of Phinehas his son, which had been given him in the hill country of Ephraim.
Thanks so much for listening to God's Plan, Your Part. If anything stuck out to you, if you have any questions, or if you'd like to receive a Bible, you can email us at godsplанyourpart@gmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please consider supporting us through the link in our description. We love that you're on this journey with us, and we hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.